Thank you.
Uh,
All right, it is March 23rd. This is the Regional Fire Authority Planning Committee meeting 9. And welcome everyone. And we'll start with the roll call. So I'm Bruce Ansel.
Scott Fisher.
Rich Bossman.
Harry Andrews, District 4.
Mark Lamb.
Jason Vanderveen.
Karen Reed, I'll just say that, and then we'll go maybe to Chris.
Yep, Chris Parks.
And then maybe Scott, Sean, and Kenneth.
Richard Davis, attorney for District 21.
Sean Ward, District 21.
Thank you, Sean.
Joe Quinn, attorney for District 4.
Scott.
So we have Scott and Kenneth from
Brown
106. There we go.
106.
All right.
So do you want me to just go ahead and continue and with the approval of the agenda? Does anyone have any additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda? Oh, Chris, I'm sorry, Dave Hansen's not here. You had an update on his absence?
Yes, he's not attending today.
For what reason?
He has a work commitment that came up, emergency work commitment on Lummi Island.
Thank you. The agenda, is everyone comfortable with the existing agenda? All right, I'm not seeing any objection to that. So we have the March 9th meeting minutes summary that everyone got in their packet. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussions, additions, deletions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And then we'll move into updates. I'll turn it back over to the chief and Karen. Obviously, we've added a new commissioner to District 4.
So one quick process question, Jason. I don't see Jenny on here. Is she taking meeting notes?
Yes, she's on the, we've discovered that that's where the hum comes from. So she's on the YouTube stream.
Got it.
Doing that way.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So were there any updates from the commissioners here at this point?
I think the only noticeable one would be a new commissioner attending.
Is that my cue to say hi and introduce myself?
Sure, why not?
All right. Well, I was just gonna, try to play the new guy card here as long as I can and just sit in the corner. Yeah. Hi, I'm just Mark Land. Just happy to be in the position to serve here. I've had the pleasure of meeting with our chief yesterday. He was generous enough to carve some time out of his busy schedule and let me pick his brain. I had an almost hour phone call, I don't know, end of last week, I think, with Karen. So she was able to, give me as much information as I could absorb in about an hour. Yeah, I'm literally, like the chief said yesterday, drinking from a fire hose and trying to assimilate a ton of data so I can help you guys.
Well, welcome. We appreciate having you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and drinking from the fire hose is never more apt as in this context of meetings like this. So thank you for your courage.
You bet.
Okay, website updates. I don't know what, Jason, whether Jenny has any news or Chris about visits to the website or emails that people have submitted with questions. Are there any that need to be brought to our attention that you know of? Chris?
I don't have any updates on my side.
Thank you. Jason, Chief?
No, just that Jenny continues to push out coordinated messages with Karen and Heather Logan, our communications consultant, in the monthly responder email magazine that we send out.
Great, thank you. And let's see here. When we met last time, Bruce, you said that there would be a meeting with labor and you would bring folks up to speed on that when we reconvened. I don't know whether that meeting actually occurred, but if it did and there's anything you want to just bring forward to keep people in the loop, that would be great.
We did meet with the existing and new representatives from Local 106, the chief and I, and they were very supportive of the RFA process and sort of pledged their support to helping if and when the campaign moves forward for the August ballot.
Great. That's good news. That independent campaign is really important to the success of these types of measures, as you know. So, okay, so that I think gets, election consultant. Chief, do you want to hum a few bars?
Yeah, so Karen and I met with Chris Fawcett of Lund Fawcett in Seattle, which is a PR firm, and had a good, I'd say 45-minute to an hour long kind of rundown on the RFA process and where we're at and some of our demographics of both districts and then combined. And she feels like she can help us. She has done work in multiple settings like this. Most notably and most recently would be the Arlington RFA and also the Graham RFA or the Graham.
Chris actually didn't work on Arlington, but she did work on Marysville and creation of South County.
That's right.
And,
sorry, that's right. Liz Loomis did Arlington. That's right. Anyway, she immediately started thinking about some really great things that our train derailment that went very well. About using things like that we've had in our past as a means to get the message out. So she is someone as we move forward that we'll be working with and will help us get the message out, a positive message out about the RFA and what it can do for the community.
She would be tag teaming with Heather and myself to take the lead on shaping the messages and the outreach and education flyers. Should we
RFA meeting.
get to that point? She had a schedule conflict and could not attend this morning on such short notice, but she will be at our next chat with you, and you can ask her any questions that you like. So I think that takes us to item 5 on the agenda, which is a discussion about, we obviously have some issues that have been placed on the table we will need to resolve in order to move forward on an RFA, and the question is to see what we can resolve today or not. I'd just like to say a few words before we get launched on this. Obviously, you have been involved in this journey since August, probably before then, and a lot of issues have been resolved over the intervening months, and that's been very encouraging. However, it may be that you cannot reach agreement and that the RFA project will need to be ended. That is entirely your decision, and any decision you make here is okay. Not all deals happen or need to happen or are meant to happen. But that said, D21 and District 4 have a long-standing relationship, and that relationship will continue at least in the near term. And it is so my hope that even if you decide not to proceed with the RFA, we can make that decision with some grace, anticipating a future in which District 21 and District 4 are in the immediate future joined by a service contract, and in the longer term have a common cause in the safety of the area in which you all live. So based on the email discussions yesterday, it's my understanding that both parties have declined to ask for an executive session at this meeting, but that may change. If at any point during this conversation, you feel that there is a need to discuss things that you would prefer to happen in executive session, we can terminate this discussion and calendar that executive session for a later date and time. So I just want to point that out. We're not in executive session today, but if you feel at some point we should be, or you would like to be, we can stop and make that happen. So I think in the most immediate, obviously, we would want to be avoiding talking about personnel matters that would be most appropriately discussed in an executive session, since the issue on the table, as I understand it, is the position that the District 4 employee, Chris Parks, would have on the org chart when the RFA begins and moving forward. So before I get there, I just sort of, if any of you at any time feel like the discussion is leaning into an area that you would prefer to be in executive session, please raise a hand or make your concern known, and we can ask Richard and Joe if they have any reactions. They can also obviously speak up at any time and say, I think you guys would be better advised to take something up here in exec session, and that is just fine. And similarly, in addition to just saying, I would like to do this in exec session at a later time, if at any time we're a little handicapped here by not having Dave here, it's unclear to me if we can resolve anything here today without Dave, but we can certainly try. There is a quorum of both parties here. So technically you may make a decision. But if at any point you would think, I would like to go back and have an opportunity to talk with my fellow commissioners separately before we proceed on this discussion, that is fine. Just speak up and we can table the discussion for a later date to allow you an opportunity to do so. Obviously, District 4, having only 3 commissioners, can only have such a discussion at an officially noticed meeting, but you have one this afternoon. District 21 members can speak. The 3 of you that are serving on this planning committee can speak at any time together. But if you would like to also have the opportunity to go back and confer with your entire board, you're welcome to ask for that. Okay, a lot of preamble here. Questions or comments? Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, Karen, I know you just mentioned it, but just for the benefit of the other board, just so you know, full disclosure, I haven't even had an opportunity yet to talk with Harry or Dave. We're having our first meeting, like she just mentioned, later today. So I really, I feel somewhat, handicapped by that, not having that opportunity to discuss with my new board members kind of where we are. So a lot of what I may or may not have to say today, please take that into consideration.
Got it. Well, I think that it does sort of put the issue right on the table for Commissioner Andrews and you, Commissioner Land, whether or not you would like to ask us not even to proceed with this conversation today until after you've had an opportunity to confer this afternoon, or whether you would like to at least have a sort of a preliminary discussion to sort of flesh things out. What is your preference, gentlemen?
Wait after we have our meeting at 2 o'clock today.
Okay. Does that, I frankly think that may make more sense. We may simply be wasting our breath if we're talking now before you are ready to engage in the conversation and without Commissioner Hanson. But I will open it up for anyone from District 21 to opine or comment at this point on this issue.
So my direction from our board is to move forward with the RFA planning process. We have been transparent during this whole process. We believe that there are some significant advantages to the communities, especially District 4. We have a 10-year working agreement with them, And you know, there have been some concerns about the contract and suggestions to even cut off that contract at the end of this year if an agreement couldn't be reached. And then we sort of buried the hatchet, moved forward with the RFA process. And that's been our position all along, is to hammer out the details and get this thing on the ballot and move forward. So there were no go issues. We had that discussion early on in the RFA planning process. No one brought up any issues at that point. And so here we are.
Yes.
I did receive a communication from Commissioner Hanson yesterday stating that the finance manager position was in question and that they were holding a special meeting today at 2 o'clock. I fully expected him to be here at this meeting today.
Yes.
Maybe he could have enlightened us a little bit more. I'm not even sure he sent this letter to the rest of the D4 board, unless he blind CC'd them. But I don't know that Mark or Harry got this letter, or can you confirm that you saw this letter that Commissioner Hanson sent to me?
I've seen it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Harry.
I've seen it.
Mark?
I don't remember getting a letter.
All right, so here we are.
Well, I'm always happy to receive information. I don't think it's I can't see what, I mean, speaking personally, I wouldn't have any strong opinion to not just receive information and to continue to become more educated and learn what we need to work towards resolving. But that's, you know, that's just me. I'll just do whatever you guys want to do.
So
well, hopefully he'll share that letter with you at the meeting today.
And so then, Harry, unless I think you are willing to speak for District 4 at this particular meeting and present what the concerns are that Dave asked to talk about, we won't be able to proceed on that issue today. What's your thinking here?
No, we're going to wait until after we've had our meeting, and then we'll be able to come and discuss it.
Okay. And we have obviously a limited amount of runway to finish these discussions. So we would hopefully try to get something on everybody's calendar as soon as possible. To make the May ballot, again, working backwards, we have to have the plan adopted and the ballot resolution sent over to Whatcom County elections no later than Friday, May 14th. We also have committed to do a second round of public outreach with the community about the RFA plan. And that would be happening in the last part of April before you take final action. So we basically have about 2 weeks to wrap things up so that we can be prepared for the community outreach and have an understanding of whether we are moving forward, and if so, under what proposed arrangements. And that last public outreach will help inform whether we need to make further changes to the RFA plan or anything else. So that's kind of our timeline. So I guess I would ask Harry and Mark, if you, and actually everyone, would you be available to try to meet either later this week or the beginning of the week next week to try to continue this discussion? Are you open to that?
I'm fine with any meeting date.
Obviously, it will be really important to have Dave there, so and all of you there, so we will try to make sure again that we calendar something at a time that is convenient, but we will really need people's commitments. We obviously will not get this done if District 4 folks cannot engage in the conversation, so that's obvious, I guess.
My only conflict
Days
is
are good days for me.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Any other week. Tomorrow is a conflict for me, but anything other than tomorrow is good. In Dave's letter to me, he said that District 4 would follow up with me in writing. So Harry and or Mark, if you could make sure that that happens, I would appreciate getting your response in writing.
Okay,
Okay, and so I'm hoping that if we do come back and talk about this, that we will be able to decide up front whether the discussion needs to be moving forward in executive session or not. So I guess I would ask District 4 to let me know whether or not we need to set this up as an executive session in which case we would probably want, based on the advice I'm getting from Richard and discussions with Joe or email with Joe, that it would be better to have that executive session as a joint board executive session. So we would need to notice it as such. So if you gentlemen could, and Chris, make a note of that we will need to know what your preference is there, and then District 21 will have to decide if that works for them as well, to have the discussion in an executive session, because their view coming into today was that it did not need to be in an executive session. So please clarify your views on that when you respond back to us. And I'm hoping that in addition to that, we can try to keep the discussion, if we're going to move forward, try to have it based on what are the interests you are trying to address, so that we can try to have this discussion around interests and focus on meeting those interests, and rather than other details. What is the core nut of the concern here, and that you're concerned about or you are trying to accomplish. So I think that means we are, unless there is anyone that wants to say anything else, Richard or Joe, if there's anything you want to add at this point, I think I would suggest that we're not going to have agenda item 5 discussed, and we can then decide whether we want to continue today or also postpone the balance of the meeting agenda. So, but before we go there, Richard or Joe, do you have anything that should be added or that you would like to add at this point? Nope.
I don't have anything to add. I don't think, Karen. I think you've adequately characterized it as kind of a log jam at this point until we have the meeting this afternoon. As to executive sessions on these types of matters, that is very common. It's never required, of course, but it's very common with matters like discussion of performance of a public employee to do that in an executive session. I wonder if everyone knows, I'm sure the attorneys do, what the statute provides. The statute provides at RCW 5226-100, specifically subsection 6A, the rights of existing employees in one of the fire protection jurisdictions that's being combined into an RFA. So everything I think should be done with that background or contextual background. Those are the rights of the employees. So I think what you're discussing, apparently, or not discussing, is exactly where personnel and in particular one person would fit in the organization. And that's very difficult to do other than an executive session, in my opinion, whether it be separate or joint. I think that's the best way to do it. Today's not the time at all. Without Dave here and his history with the district, poor Mark is brand new. It's not fair to him to do otherwise. So that's my position. The only other thing I would add is, I think the chief mentioned it a little bit. I have great familiarity with that firm that you appear to be ready to pick for your election outreach, as they worked very strongly and very directly with Graham Fire here in Pierce County on their new benefit charge, which they've never had before. And they did an excellent job. Just want to throw in that 2 cents for Ms. Fawcett and her firm. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, Richard, anything you want to add? You're good. Okay, thank you. So I think the question then is whether or not, gentlemen, you would like to talk about issue 6, which is the starting levy rate. My get is that maybe we put that off as well. But if folks have any questions about the materials or definitive thoughts about that discussion, we can do that. Maybe the other thing we could do is simply approve the meeting. Wait, did we approve the meeting? We did approve the meeting summary. So that just went by so fast and smooth. I didn't even notice, Bruce.
Sorry.
Excellent. You're way ahead of me. So, but if people, any thoughts about whether we should adjourn for now, or if you would like to do any exploration of the levy rate discussion, any sense of the group on that?
The only thing I guess I would ask is, last time we left our joint meeting where we looked at finances, I know that Harry had questions about the levy rate, and I'm just curious if you want to comment at all, Harry, on this latest information about the levy rate, as far as your comfort with it and what your opinions are, if and as we move forward with the RFA process. Do you have an opinion right now?
I do. We've discussed that a little bit on our last meeting about the difference between $1.35 and $1.45. And Commissioner Ansel pointed out that the difference of a $400,000 home would only be $3 a month. However, my position is that we have many, many very wealthy people in our district, and their homes are anywhere between $2 and $3 million. And that would change the aspect of the monthly payment greatly. First of all, our public that we serve are very intelligent, very wealthy, and they don't just rubber stamp something that comes down the road, because they analyze everything and look at everything. So I'm concerned about what it looks like to these people, and will this help or hinder our vote?
So, and do you have any, I agree that it's important to be thinking about how the voters are going to react to this. Is there something about 135 other than just it's smaller that you think is better, or is there, in terms of what you will be able to accomplish, or the frequency with which you would need to go back to the voters? How do those issues play in your view?
Well, I think that it looks like our group is going to 145, and that's also good, because it gives us so much benefit for the things we need to do in the future. However, I'm looking at perception, the way my public is going to look at that, and they're going to analyze. So I think that we came up with another $1.40 and like splitting the difference, and that seemed to work. But I just wanted to inject the fact that our public is very, very concerned about their cost. They wouldn't be as wealthy as they are if they didn't.
Well, certainly the public outreach, it's the important role of that is to explain folks what your decisions are and what the additional levy will ensure for the residents. And so it is really important to have, as we talked last time, the story straight and be all on the same page as we go out and talk to the public, so that they're hearing consistent messages from us about why you have collectively made whatever set of recommendations you're making at that point.
And just on that subject, since Mr. Quinn is here and talked about the benefit charge, is it true that a homeowner with a more expensive, larger footprint house would pay more under a benefit service charge, or do all residential properties pay the same?
It can be done either way, but typically residential, single-family residential is one category typically in a benefit charge scheme. It's not like sprinkler systems where sometimes they're treated differently than smaller homes. So no, I don't think that in most benefit charge schemes that there's any difference from a percentage standpoint. It's kind of like taxes. It goes up proportionately depending upon not value in this case with benefit charges, but square footage usually.
Residential square footage, or?
Yes.
So if I have a 10,000 square foot home, I'm gonna pay more than someone that has a 1,200 square foot Ramblin'.
Absolutely.
So there is a difference in the benefit service charge if you have a larger home.
For sure. I mean, ratably, yes, from the standpoint of the category, the coefficients are usually the same, but since you have more square footage, you pay more typically with the benefit charge for a large home. Yes.
Okay, so there is a difference. Not all houses pay the same.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And those are part of the decisions that the group would have to make if it was just setting up a benefit charge about how to define those classes and what they would pay. And I would just note that we previously determined that you did not want to pursue this. We would definitely not have the capacity to pull that together in the next 2 weeks if the group decided.
Yeah, the point I was trying to make was in response to Harry's comment that,
Mhm.
you know, we've got people in $1 million homes that kind of don't want to pay more, but they actually do. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to do an economies of scale here that most models end up charging you more if you have a bigger house. So that's common in the industry.
Thanks, Bruce. Commissioner Land, did you have a question? I thought your hand.
Yeah, I did. So, I mean, as you can imagine, I've got hundreds of questions, but one question I have as it relates to levy rates and revenue streams and whatnot, and forgive me if this was asked and answered months ago, and maybe the information is out there, I just haven't been pointed to it yet, but I'd be curious to know what, like in 4 different scenarios, if it could be like bullet pointed, what would $1.45 get us as an RFA authority or fire district? What would $1.45 get District 4 on its own? What would 145, do for North Whatcom? And what would it do if we continue to operate under the interlocal agreement? And I'm sure that that's a ton of information, but somebody that's good at math, probably it might be easy for them. I don't know, but if I was going to make a decision on something as significant as that, I'd kind of like to know what the impacts are to different customer groups, so that I could be prepared to address their questions. So that's just one of the things that's been kind of bouncing around my head on particularly the levy rate issue.
If I could respond to that, Mark, I think that is the type of information that we would want to have available when we have our meetings to the public, because those are valid questions that would come up and we would have all that data ready for us and be able to present it. So yeah, it's a good question. And I think we would have that information to present if we got to that point with an RFA.
Okay.
I have a procedural question, Karen, if you don't mind.
Of course. Go ahead, Commissioner Bosman.
I'm just wondering why this whole thing may come to a stop, because we're discussing an issue that hasn't even been established yet, because we haven't got to the point of an RFA and actually setting down what positions are available, let alone who fills those positions. So it seems to me that we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here. We haven't even got to that point yet. So I guess speaking for District 21's board, we've been very transparent and open in this process, and it seems kind of strange that we're stopping over an issue that is in the future and it's not even now.
Well, I would say I appreciate that observation. I think that when you're doing these RFA plans, you need to be able to append an organizational chart showing the positions that will be in place as of the first day of the RFA. Those organizational charts don't usually have people's names associated with them. But it's my understanding that District 4 wants to make sure that, well, they have, and I think we've talked at the February 25th workshop We presented the baseline and baseline plus organizational charts. The chief presented those to you. Folks recall that? And no names were attached, but those were presented, and we pointed out that the position of the training center manager was going to be the position for Ms. Parks. And it's my understanding that that is what is unacceptable to District 4 at this point. So that's the issue. In order to sign off on the RFA plan, it's my understanding that District 4 is not comfortable with that particular aspect, or the lack of confirmation about where that's going to happen. So that's the issue that we need to resolve in order to approve the RFA plan. Is the org chart as part of that plan? It's one of the remaining issues.
So it's not a question of the position that we seem to be talking about. It's a question of the position that Ms. Parks was placed in the future.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
That the concern is that the proposal from the chief is not acceptable to some or all of District 4 commissioners. So that's what we need to come back and try to resolve if we're going to finish the RFA plan. Okay, so if we're not going to talk about the levy scenario, I mean, I think if you look at item, I'll just mention apropos of Mr. Bosman's comment, the handful of issues that we have yet to resolve on the RFA plan are significant. They're sort of penciled out on item 7 of your agendas. We need to confirm the organizational chart. We need to confirm the transfer of assets and apparatus and facilities from the 2 separate districts to the RFA. We need to confirm the starting levy rate and the commitment of funds that are budgeted by each agency separately in 2021 to support the operation of the RFA from and after the date it is created, which would be October 1st of this year. So the last 2 months of this year would need to be supported with monies from your 2 currently adopted budgets at that time. So, and there may be some additional due diligence matters that we should also address at this before we wrap things up here. So those are the issues that are on deck moving forward. I think that those can be resolved relatively expeditiously. But obviously the big one that may throw us off here is this organizational chart issue and the position that Ms. Parks has in the RFA moving forward. So with that, I think we may ask Commissioner Ansel, perhaps, unless there's somebody that anything, if we want to do a round robin, or if anybody has anything else they would like to say, we should probably adjourn the meeting for today, and we will immediately ask Jenny to get on the online and try to find us a date to reconvene as soon as we can get this group of folks back together again. And I'm mindful of Mr. Quinn's suggestion that if it is going to be around personnel matters, we may wish to do so in a joint board executive session. Is there anything anyone else wants to say before we ask Bruce to take us out of here?
Can I just show of hands, does Monday the 29th work for people's calendars right now? I know Mark had sent a message that says Mondays are good for him. How about just just since we're all here, does Monday work?
Monday will work for me.
Monday.
Yes.
We're getting, Mark, do you know any reason that Monday wouldn't work for you?
Mark has already said Mondays are good.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I was looking at my calendar.
That's okay.
Well, that would make life a lot easier if we can get that penciled in on folks' pencil. People don't pencil anything on calendars anymore. It's all electronic. I am so old school. Okay.
Wait, look.
Oh my gosh, it's a pencil. All right, folks. Well, I appreciate everyone's new pencil, old pencil. Good approach today. Hopefully we can carry this forward. I'm sorry we weren't able to get further today, but we will attempt to regroup on Monday.
Scott has a question.
What time on Monday would that be?
Well, 10 has been working, but if you have a conflict, let us know now.
10 to
I
noon.
have a conflict. 1:30 would work.
Will 1:30 to 3:30 work for folks?
It's good here.
Good here.
Oh, good. I think
Rich, that works.
Yep.
we're good to go. So 1:30 to 3:30. And gentlemen, do you want to just say, let's notice this as a joint board meeting and executive session? So that we don't have any limits on your ability to, gracefully go through what will be a difficult discussion, or what's your thought here? Do you want to think about that later and get back to us? I mean,
It doesn't hurt to put it on there. If you don't use it, you don't need it. So
we would
we
need
just
to-
have to notice it.
and we would need to notice it as a joint board. So it would be all 5 board members would be invited, because Rich's advice was that the planning commission probably shouldn't be doing the planning committee shouldn't be doing executive sessions, but the joint boards could do an executive session. So that's the,
Gotcha. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that.
okay. Rich, any other, or Joe? So is it okay if we just go ahead and call this as a joint board meeting and provide for an executive session on Monday from 1:30 to 3:30, and the agenda would include an executive session to discuss the performance of an employee?
You could do that. And you could have an RFA planning committee meeting scheduled at the same time, so you can kind of bounce back and forth between them.
Oh.
But you know what I mean?
I'm not sure I do, but
You could schedule the RFA planning committee meeting, and you could also schedule a joint board meeting with the agenda being an executive session.
Okay.
For the same time.
Okay.
And I would do that. I would notice both.
Okay. Joe, any concerns with that? Okay, we'll do that. I'll follow up with both of you gentlemen on the legal end to make sure we're doing the thing and the stuff right. And but that sounds pretty straightforward. And Chris will help us at the D4 side, and Jenny can take care of it at the D21 side.
All right.
Okay.
Commissioner Otzel?
I want to comment.
Mr. Cunningham,
Yes, can I say something if this time is appropriate?
sure.
I just wanted to say I'm a little beside myself right now. I know I was not privy to some of the conversations that took place, it seems like over the last 24, 48 hours. But to have this entire RFA be on the verge of breaking apart because someone is unhappy with the location of the job they're getting is a little disheartening when I have 12 members that I need to look in the face and tell them they have a potential for not having a job anymore. I spoke with Dave Hansen several times with lengthy conversations and him promising me that members would not be laid off or let go. And to have one person of the district that is having a job and is now unhappy with it is very disheartening for me to look at, like I said, those members' faces. So I know I'm not privy to all the conversations that are going on, but from a labor standpoint, this is very unacceptable to me.
All right.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Can I say something?
Ms. Parks.
I don't think those kinds of comments should be made before we go into the executive session, because I personally never made a comment to anybody. And a lot of people don't know anything about it. So they shouldn't be saying this is what I said, because that is not the fact. I just want to make that clear. I don't want to say anything else before we had our executive session this afternoon, but I never made those comments, never in public, never in writing. So if Mr. Cunningham is making those comments, that is not correct. I did not state those words.
Commissioner Andrews, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
Yes, I have a comment that I want everybody to know. I'm not speaking for our chairman. So I'll advise him this afternoon what we've decided on for Monday, the 29th, but I can't speak for him at this time.
So it's possible, you're alerting us to the possibility that he may not be available or decline to participate?
He teaches classes and things like that. And if he's got another teaching assignment, I really can't speak for him. But
That's a good
I'll talk about that this afternoon.
Okay, we'll make sure we follow up with Dave, and we'll let you all know if there's a problem with his schedule. And if there is, we'll go to plan B on a meeting time. Thanks for reminding us. Yes, we'll of course check with him. All right, anything else that anyone wants to add here? Okay, back to you.
I'll
Bruce.
entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I mean,
Unanimous. Meeting is adjourned.